Hello everyone and welcome to Cabbage Patch Soap. My name is Laura and today I will be showing you how to line square and rectangular molds with paper. So this is freezer paper. You can also use parchment paper. And what you want to do is, if you see the way it's curling, you want to have the curl facing downward like this. It'll just make everything a little bit easier. You want to line the paper up with the mold as best as you can. For this little mold it's not nearly as important, but for larger molds you want to make sure that it's as centered as possible and lined up with your mold. On this freezer paper it has a shiny side, and that shiny side is facing down. So what I'm doing here is just using my nail to crease the paper along the inside edge of the mold. I want to do this on all four sides. And this will just show you where we're going to do our folds later. And then what we'll do here is we're going to fold along the creases that we made. So you just follow those lines. Try to get it as straight as you can. You just fold all the way across. And then you're just going to open this back up and then make your next fold along the next one. And we're going to do this for all four sides. Going to line it up, make the crease, open it up, and do the next one. Alright, and then when you're done folding all four sides, we're going to cut parallel lines. So we're going to pick one side. On a rectangular mold it'll be the longer side. So you want to cut this along the crease that you made all the way to the corner and then stop. And we do the next one. Then you just want to flip this around and do the other side the same way. We're only going to do this on two sides. So all the way to the corner and stop, and then all the way to the corner and stop. And then what I'm going to show you next is why we need to trim some of this paper off. And this will also give you an idea of, how the mold's going to fit. So if you weren't sure about the size of your mold, it might be a good idea at this point to just kind of tuck the paper in and see how much extra you have to know how much you want to cut off, especially if it's the first time lining your mold. So here you can see I could tell that we need to cut off quite a bit because it's such a tiny mold. But on a larger one, you may want to slide the paper in and just see how much extra you have to work with. And what we're going to do is, on one side here, we're going to cut off some of the extra on these little side flaps here, and then we're going to do the other side. But if you see that strip in the middle, we're going to leave that. On the left and the right there from the camera angle, you don't want to cut those in the middle. We're going to leave those. We just want to cut these on the end. And then we're going to also cut off some of the extra on the ends because they're so long. So now what we have is the two flaps there. You can kind of see them curled over the top. They're longer than the other side flaps. So what we do is just take those two shorter flaps, and those are going to go on the outside, and the longer flaps will be on the inside. And then you just want to tuck that down inside the mold. And what that does is that just helps prevent the soap from seeping out of the corners. You just want to carefully tuck it down in there. And make sure it's all the way down in the corners. Now for those side flaps that are sticking up, the corners are folded so you can't bend them down. So I'm just going to turn the mold here and show you what I'm doing. I'm just cutting down to the top of the mold so that we can fold those corners over more easily. So depending on the size of your mold, you might have extra paper sticking up like that, and you just want to cut those corners. So now what we're going to do is just hold the paper down at the bottom to make sure this doesn't get lifted up, and fold the paper down on all four sides, and you'll see that we have a very neatly lined mold with no fancy folding. So at this point, if those papers get in your way, we're going to trim them down, but you can hold them down on the sides with this stuff is called Loctite. It's sort of like a gummy, like paste, like almost like putty, I guess is a better word to use to describe it. And this is a little bit better than tape because it doesn't stay stuck on the side of your mold. You just want to stick a little bit on, and then that paper that you already folded over, just fold it back down, and this is going to hold it down in place. And the nice thing about this stuff is it's removable, so you can easily just pull it off the side of your mold, or if you're going to be lining it with paper pretty often, you can actually leave that Loctite on the wood there, and every time you line your mold, just use the same Loctite, so it's reusable. And then here you can see I'm trimming down the extra paper. Now you could use tape or you could use a bunch of other stuff, but I just find that this method works best for me. And here between those two flaps there's a gap, so that top piece of paper will easily stick to the Loctite and hold everything down. But on the other side they're kind of overlapping. I want to show you another method you can do, is actually just cutting down. You can either cut a V shape in there like I did, or cut them down to size so that you can more easily fold that flap over. Either way works fine. And there you have, well, except for that little piece of paper. But now you have a neatly lined mold that you can use. It's a quick and easy way. You can reuse a Loctite if you want. You can even reuse the paper. If you found this video helpful, please consider giving it a like and subscribing to my channel. If there are any other helpful videos you'd like to see, please let me know and I can make them for you. And thank you for watching. You have a great day.